Hello and welcome to my kitchen here at Trails Inn 62. Been kind of busy with the garden going, okra and jumbo jalapenos, tomatoes, just all coming on good. So we're freezing a bunch of tomatoes for making sauce later on and some other things. But I've got a bunch of jalapenos, got a bunch of habaneros coming on too, but I haven't dealt with those yet. A bunch of okra. So we're going to do some pickled jalapenos. Now I don't have a whole lot, but then we don't eat a whole lot of those, but I'm going to try these. I'm not real particularly fond of them. I haven't ate very many of them, but I'm going to try these, going to make some, and Evie likes them, so we'll have some made. And we had a little get together here not too long ago, a week or so ago, and I guess it's been a little less than a week, so I gave out party favors with a bag of tomatoes filled with tomatoes, okra and jalapenos, a few habaneros. So I don't have as many as I had before, but I need to get these canned up, something to do with them. As they come on more, I'll be doing dehydrating the jalapenos and making some jalapeno seasoning with it. But these I'm going to pickle. Pickled jalapenos. You know, like what you put on nachos and stuff. So anyway, we're going to start out for each pound and a half of jalapeno peppers that you have, which will do about 2 pints. You're going to use 3½ cups of vinegar and 1 cup of water. Now, the vinegar needs to be 5%. Most white vinegar, distilled vinegar, is 5% acidity. You can use apple cider vinegar if you want. Make sure it is 5% acidity. This example here, for example of apple cider vinegar, this is only 4%. But I have this one here, apple cider vinegar, and it is 5%. So I'm going to be using the apple cider vinegar. It gives it a little different flavor. You can use white vinegar, white distilled vinegar, as long as it's 5% acid. Do not deviate from this. It's important for the pickling process. It's important for the canning process, the preservation process. 3½ cups of 5% vinegar to 1 cup of water. Now the other thing I'm going to be adding in this is a little sugar. You do not have to add the sugar. It's optional. It will kind of cut down on the heat a little bit, is why I'm doing this. You can use no sugar whatsoever. You get the full throttle of your jalapenos. Different jalapenos have different kinds of heat. So it's whatever you want to use. I'm using 1 tablespoon of sugar. If you want it to be more mild, you use 2 tablespoons of sugar. If you want it to be less spicy even, you can use 3 tablespoons of sugar. The more sugar you use, the less you'll feel the heat. But I'm only going to use 1 tablespoon of sugar. I'll add my vinegar and my water and my sugar into a pan, and I will bring that pan to a boil. And I'm going to let that boil for 5 minutes. While my brine is boiling, these are my jalapenos. I didn't slice all these. Evie did most of them. So, but these are jumbo jalapenos. And so they're a little bigger round. Some of them I picked a little early so they wouldn't be quite so big around. They're great for making jalapeno poppers. But I've got some poppers in the freezer already that I made from them. But these I'm going to make the pickled jalapenos. I sliced them about a 8¼ inch slices, thin slices, however you like them. You can go up to ½ inch if you want to. But these are sliced up. This is just about a pound, 10 ounces, so about 26 ounces weight, which is a little over 1.5 pounds. So we'll see what these will do. I'm going to be using, I've got 4 of these. These are 3/4 pint jars. I'm going to be using those, and then the rest of them I'm going to be putting in just the ½ pint jars and doing a ½ pint rather than a full pint. So the ingredients that I'm giving you for what I'm putting in it is 4 pints. Alright? I'm going to be using a little less because of the size that I'm using, or half because of the half pints. So, but the ingredients I'm giving you are 4 pints. Do a pint at a time. These are the ingredients you're going to be using. I'm using several different spices in these. You do not have to use the spices. It is recommended that you do the garlic and the salt. That's kind of recommended. The rest of it, you can put it in as you want, if that's what you want. If you want to try some of these, okay, I'm putting in quite a few. I'm trying quite a few of these to kind of give it more of a flavor than just the jalapeno straight. So I'll be putting in spices again. These are 4 pints. Now I'm going to get my jars hot. This will be a water bath process. I don't water bath. This is a water bath process. I don't water bath. I said that twice now. This is the way I do things. Again, I might want to point out, I'm telling you how I'm doing things, how I do things, okay? I'll be using my electric canner. I'll use a low pressure setting on that, not the water bath setting. But if you're doing the water bath, they do say that since the peppers are going to be processed for at least 10 minutes, again, that's if you're at 1,000 feet or less of sea level elevation, you'll be doing for 10 minutes. If you're over that, you're going to be doing it for a little longer. But since you're doing it for 10 minutes, there's no need to boil your jars and sanitize your jars. If you want to sanitize your jars for your water bath process, go ahead, sanitize them. You do what you feel you need to do. I'm going to just heat my jars up since they're going to be processed for more than 10 minutes. But you do what you do, okay? Normally, on a water bath process, if it's going to be processed under 10 minutes, you do have to sanitize your jars, okay? Just pointing that out. Again, I don't water bath, but I do use the low pressure side on my canner for water bath canning, all right? I got my brine going over here, got my jalapenos chopped up, and so we're going to get our jars ready, going to heat them up because the brine's going to be hot, my jars need to be hot, the water in my canner needs to be hot. So let's get that started. Okay, my vinegar, water has come, and sugar has come to a boil. I'm going to let it boil for 5 minutes. Turn it down a little bit here. And we'll let that boil for 5 minutes. So it's going to be good and hot, and that's to get everything blended together and get it set, ready to go. All right, I'm going to start off with my 4 half pints here. Now remember, the recipe that I'm giving you is for pints. So for a pint, we're going to put in a half a teaspoon of canning salt, a clove of garlic peeled, or I use minced garlic, so it'll be a half a teaspoon of minced garlic, and then I use a 1/4 of a teaspoon of pickle crisp, next is 3/4 of a teaspoon of black peppercorns, a 1/4 of a teaspoon of whole cumin seed, and I do not have cumin seed, so I'm just going to put some ground cumin in it. Then a 1/4 of a teaspoon of mustard seeds, a bay leaf, two whole allspice, and 2 whole cloves. Then we're ready to put in our jalapeno peppers. So we're going to pack our jalapenos in our jars. Leaving a 1/2 inch of head space. Once we have our jalapenos packed in our jars, our spices are in, we'll put our brine in. Again, we want to leave a 1/2 inch head space. Then we're going to debubble everything. Now, one thing that I have found on doing canning, when you have a liquid that you're putting in your solid, a lot of times what the recipe says doesn't always make what you need. So you need to always be prepared to make a little bit more liquid, whatever kind of liquid that you have to do, whether it's a broth or in this case this brine. So I did make a little bit more brine just in case I needed it. I did 1/2 again. Again, the ratio has to be maintained for the acidity. Then we're going to debubble it, wipe our rims, put our lids on, and we'll put these in the canner. Alright, now I've got these in my canner, and remember, if you're water bath canning, you need to cover your jars by 1 to 2 inches of water. You get your water boiling first. The water's boiling, you put your jars in, make sure they're covered 1 to 2 inches, then you let it come up to a boil again, and you start your timer once the water starts boiling again after you put your jars in. Now, normally these are done, if you're below 1,000 feet at sea level, it's 10 minutes. If you're above, you have to adjust. Excuse me. So in my instance, I'm above 1,000 feet, so I'm going to add 5 minutes. So I'll be doing mine for 15 minutes. And if you get higher elevation than that, I think 1 to 3,000 feet, I think you need to make sure that you know what your time frame is. So for every so far above the elevation, you are going to add minutes to the time. I'm going to be adding 5 minutes to mine, so I'll be canning mine for 15 minutes. Again, I'm using the low pressure canning system on my electric canner, and I operate it just like the high system, but I press low. 15 minutes on my timer. It's hard to do on the... Okay, 15 minutes, and then I will start. And I will run it just like I normally do a canner, but it's on the low side, so it essentially does a water bath canning. And that's it for pickled jalapenos. Good on nachos and for assorted different things that you do. I can mine up in little 3/4 pint jars, as well as 1/2 pint jars. They turned out pretty good. I canned them with the seeds in them. They are hot, just saying. So if you don't like them as hot, you can take the seeds out, core them before you pickle them. You can put a little more sugar in them. You know, probably that's what I'll do next time, is add a little bit more sugar to it. But they're good. Again, these are like anything that you pickle. It needs to go 4 to 6 weeks or so before they absorb all of the flavoring that's in there, all the spices that are in there. They get good and absorb into the jalapenos. So let them set. Don't rush it unless you have one that doesn't seal. All of mine sealed, so I opened one anyway just to taste it. But give it 4 to 6 weeks for it to fully absorb the flavoring of the spices in there, and then they're ready to eat. Alright, that's it for pickled jalapenos. From my house to your house. From my kitchen to your kitchen. God bless.